Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. And in today's video, we'll discuss the three keys to the game for number 13 Oregon at Texas Tech and what the Red Raiders need to do to pull off the upset in the home opener at Jones AT&T Stadium. Now, before we get into that, hey, simply like the video and hit that subscribe button. We're giving you free daily Texas Tech videos here on the channel, and I promise you're going to want to watch the one tomorrow. So hit that subscribe button and the like button while you're at it to stay in the know on Texas Tech football all year long. All right, before we get into the three keys of the game for me this week for number 13, Oregon at Texas Tech, well, let me know. What is your biggest key to the game for Texas Tech to beat number 13 Oregon? Again, I know confidence levels are very much diminished right now when it comes to Texas Tech football and what went wrong up in Wyoming, but I still think Texas Tech is a good football team, and we all know that crazy things happen at Jones AT&T Stadium at night. But I want to hear from you guys. What is your biggest key to the game for Texas Tech to pull off the upset against number 13 Oregon? All right, let's jump right into it. And I think this one is arguably the biggest one for me, and I understand it's number one, so maybe there's that. And before we jump into that, I know there's going to be somebody in the comments, score more points than Oregon. That's the biggest key. Don't be that guy. Just don't be that guy. I got to remind you until I see people stop doing it in the comments. Anyway, number one, grab momentum early. Now, I know what you're thinking, RC, isn't that what they did up in Wyoming? What makes you think it's going to be any different against Oregon? Well, first and foremost, it's a home game, right? Texas Tech and Red Raider Nation, they're down a little bit, right? If you can show them, they come out, Texas Tech does, and gets an early touchdown. I'm talking first drive of the game, and they go up 7-0 over Oregon after Texas Tech got the ball first. There's going to be a little bit of momentum there, right? Jones AT&T is going to get rowdy. It's going to get loud down there. It only takes one, right? And listen, I like Oregon quite a bit, but they haven't seen an environment like this year, right? They played Portland State. It was a bona fide scrimmage. All right. No disrespect to Portland State, but let's call it what it is, right? It's a spade situation, right? And when you look at what Texas Tech can bring, it's going to be a rowdy environment. There's going to be 60,000 strong, but you have to make sure if you're Texas Tech that you get that crowd involved early, right? It's going to be loud early on regardless, but if you get that first touchdown on the first drive and you go up 7-0, Bo Nix is not going to be able to hear himself think. And now I think Bo Nix is a phenomenal quarterback, but you want to put as much pressure as possible on that guy, and getting the crowd involved will do just that. So you want to see how Oregon reacts to that kind of environment, which I think they could respond well, but I want to see it for Texas Tech because you have to get this crowd involved early on. And if you do, I think that checks the box for Texas Tech and really allows them to move forward and have that, okay, last week was last week. We don't have to worry about Wyoming anymore. Let's go out and win this game in front of the home crowd and really just settle our season down a little bit and get a bunch of people more on board when it comes to what we're doing here at Texas Tech. All right. I asked y'all yesterday in the preview. Hopefully y'all watched that. I got a link down in the comments below if you want to watch that. But who you got in this game? What's your score prediction for number 13 Oregon at Texas Tech? Let me know in the comments below. I've been seeing some crazy scores. I'm not going to say which way they're going. But yeah, I mean, my goodness, there's some crazy ones out there. But I want to hear from you guys. Let me know, what is your score prediction for number 13 Oregon at Texas Tech at Jones AT&T Stadium on Saturday night? All right, let's jump into number two. And it's simple. Get pressure on Bo Nix and set an edge. And listen, this is obviously much easier said than done, right? Listen, I'm a guy talking in his office right now about this, right? We're talking about a true Heisman dude in Bo Nix, a guy that I really respect. I like his game quite a bit, all the way dating back to his Auburn days, right? But Tech has to be better in the pass rush. It's that simple. When your head coach at the weekly press conference leading into the Oregon game says that he thought the defensive line played well outside of the fact that they didn't go in their pass rush lanes accordingly, that's an issue. I think it'll be addressed, right? But the thing is this, I think people tend to think, okay, if they get their pass rush lanes correct, they'll be fine. They'll be able to get to Bo Nix. Well, that's only half the battle because Bo Nix can run, right? You have to be able to set an edge, right? I want to see Bo Nix have to step up in the pocket and see a linebacker in his face coming at him. I'd love to see some disguised blitzes, some stunts on the defensive line to try and create havoc on that Oregon offensive line, and hopefully a raucous environment at Jones AT&T, right? I want to see them have to communicate, and then that translates to Bo Nix in terms of getting pressure to him and setting an edge. I'm interested to see what Miles Cole and Steve Linton do as a rebound game, because really they didn't play too well, right? You know Bradford and Hutchings are going to come in and set the interior of the defensive line for Texas Tech. I want to see what kind of stunts and blitz packages Tim DeRuyter throws against his former school, right? I want to see that, and I'm very interested to see how much trust there is with the guy in Ben Roberts, who is now the Mike linebacker for Texas Tech and will be the guy calling out the plays, right? How often do you have Josiah Pierre drop back into coverage with him? Or do you just send Josiah Pierre right into the face of Bo Nix and make him make a decision quicker, right? I want to see what happens here, but it all starts with this. If you do not get pressure on Bo Nix and you don't set an edge, this game's done before it starts. Okay, simple and plain. They are going to wreak havoc with the skill position players they have. The Ducks will just flat out scorch earth out in Lubbock when it comes to speed and everything. And if you can't set that edge and make Bo Nix uncomfortable, it's going to be a very, very long day at the office for the Texas Tech defense. All right, number 3. And this one is interesting because I don't think they were crazy unbalanced, but you got to get one guy more involved, and it's simple and plain. It's Taj Brooks, but we'll talk about him here in just a second. The number 3 key to the game for me for Texas Tech, you have to be more balanced offensively. And let's be real, the Tech offense was super predictable against Wyoming, right? And a large part of that had to do with they just couldn't run the football. Again, 2.8 yards per carry. That's pitiful, egregious, atrocious, just eye-bleeding type stuff, right? When you're watching this, they could not hold a run block to save their lives. Don't take my word for it. That's what Joey McGuire said, right? And so when you look at that, that has to change against Oregon, and now you're facing a much higher level of a defensive line. But I'll tell you this, I do think Texas Tech will be better in the run game because I don't think they can be much worse. And if they are much worse, whoa, this is going to be bad ugly, because if Texas Tech is predictable, Oregon's just going to sit back and wait for Tyler Shuck to potentially make a mistake when Texas Tech has to take a risk, right? That's what's going to happen. So in my eyes, there has to be 17-plus touches for Taj Brooks. I'm not asking him to get 5 yards a carry. Just get 4, right? Something in that range. And I think that's possible. But the reason I think Taj Brooks has to get those touches is because it's going to open up the offense for Texas Tech in the sense of the windows that Tyler Shuck is going to be able to throw into, right? Also, use the tight ends. What are we doing? We got legitimate basketball centers at the starting tight end position for Texas Tech and Mason Tharp and Baylor Cupp. Like, those guys could play center in college basketball. Granted, Baylor Cupp's probably a small ball 5, but it doesn't really matter. Mason Tharp is 6'9". Use them. Don't just use them on inline blocking. You're fine. Use them in the middle of the field. Make Oregon respect the middle of the field, and that will open things up on the outside where you get the ball to your playmakers in a lot more space, whether that's Bradley, McCray, Price, Fungi, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. It'll open things up more. And I think when Texas Tech is less predictable when it comes to, hey, they passed 47 times to 31 rush attempts, right? You got to get the ball on the ground more. And I get it. They didn't run very well against Wyoming. You're just running into a brick wall on the offensive line. But you got to keep a defense like Oregon honest when it comes to the run game. And use a little bit more play action, man. I'm all about it. Use it. RPO for days. Y'all know my motto if you follow me on Twitter. Also do so at RCMB323 over on Twitter. Run some RPOs. Keep Oregon honest, right? Run an RPO where you have the option for Tyler Shuck, where he can obviously hand it off to Taj Brooks, but also have a guy run across his face, right? Let him read that defender, and if he's coming up, give it to Taj. If he's sitting back, look, you can keep it for a second, and then that means there's going to be an open window straight to the left right there, right? Or whichever way he's looking, right? So use that to your advantage. Use those big playmakers that you have, whether that's Bradley, Tharp, McCray, Price. I went through the list already. It doesn't matter, but Texas Tech has to be more balanced in this football game if they truly want to have a chance at upsetting the number 13 Oregon Ducks and a Heisman Trophy contender in Bo Nix. Again, if you haven't already, go get your new favorite Texas Tech shirt. I don't even know what you're talking about. Go get your new favorite Texas Tech shirt over on homefieldapparel.com. Use the code BACK12 to get 15% off your total order. I just got mine. I'm going to be rocking it at the Oregon game. You should get yours too and rock it for every Texas Tech sporting event you have coming up. But before we get out of here, I got to ask you one more time, what is the biggest key to the game for Texas Tech to beat number 13 Oregon on Saturday night under the lights in Jones AT&T Stadium and get their season back on track? All right, I am RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast, reminding you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're giving you free daily Texas Tech videos. Nobody else is doing that on YouTube. Last week, we gave you 7 videos. This week, we're on track to do the same. Nobody else is doing that. Like the video, hit that subscribe button, and stay in the know on Texas Tech football all year long on your one-stop shop for everything Texas Tech football. Of course, talking about the Back to 12 podcast channel.